How you doing, everyone? It's Kevin. I'm just getting ready to lay out my 2 by 72 inch grinder for a knife making. The last video I was cleaning up the motor, getting it ready. It's all good to go. And now, like I said, just laying this thing out to try to get an idea of what I want in this grinder. Now, as I told you before, where I got the belts at, I'll leave the link down there again for you for the belts. If you didn't watch the video, the first one there, where I showed you all the materials. So if you didn't get the belt, I'll leave a link down there for you. Now, I have got some magnets. These are some big round magnets. And I got them various places. Some of them might have come off of speakers, might have been on something, you can find it. You probably could buy them right there at Harbor Freight if you want. But I got some magnets to kind of give me an idea of where my wheels are going to be. Okay? And I set the belt down on there, and then I started drawing what I wanted this grinder to look like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you over here and let you take a look at what I got so far. Alright, this is sort of the layout that I'm looking for on my grinder. And like I said, I use these magnets. They're nice and round. They're about, they're going to be like your wheels. Now, the only one I'm worried about is this back one. My belt is going to come off from the left side. Most people make the belt come off from the right. I'm going to make mine come off from the left. My motor is turning clockwise, so my motor is going to be on this side facing that way. So my wheel or my belt will come off the opposite side. Now, the way I got this set up, this may not be, things could change. It's just what I'm thinking of right now. Now, on my tensioner pulley here, I'm going to put a spring inside that square tubing right in there. Then I'm going to take a cable. I'm going to mount a cable inside the bottom of this. I'm going to put a plate on that stock, that square stock. And I'm going to run that cable all the way down to a lever, which will be able to push up and down to make my pulley, my tensioner pulley, adjustable. So I'll be able to move it up and down with this pulley, or this handle right here. Now, I don't know if this is going to work. I've never built it, and I haven't seen one yet on YouTube. So this is the way I'm going to set mine up. With the cable inside, I'm going to try to do it as neat as I can to where you really don't see a lot of this. And then we'll put a handle out here so we can just push down with your right hand, pull your belt off with your left. You're not going to be reaching up here for, just to put your belt on and off, not to mess with your tensioner. Now, I got my base plate on the bottom down here. It looks to be about 20 inches, 20 to 21 inches. Now, as I start building this and cutting this out and getting it together, I really don't want to give you dimensions yet. Because if I give you dimensions yet, I really don't know if this is going to work. I may have to cut some of this so this could slide in more. And then I have to watch that my cable is going down the inside of this tube right here. So I can't let this go back to where it hits my cable. So that's the piece, this piece here going out to our work table out this way has to slide in and out. Now this is going to be a bigger square tube, and the tube up here is going to slide down inside of that tube. I'm going to do some 45s here, probably 1/4 inch steel. I'm going to cut them in 45s. I don't want no giant looking angles on it or nothing, just two small 45s is going to be fine on this thing. All the stock that I'm using right now is at least 1/8 inch thick, the tubing. It's all 1/8 inch. This would probably be maybe a 1/4 inch strip. Not sure. See, this could all change. Then we'll have a little strap on here, welded on here, and this is going to just be a guide for this handle to keep the handle running straight up and down, not moving back and out from the machine. And then this is just a bolt, and we'll pin that cable, comes down through there, we'll pin it right in there. So this is kind of the layout that I have. I need to get my flat stock yet. I haven't. I got a piece. The biggest thing with it, it's 1/4 inch, and cutting it is a little bit difficult. So, but that's going to be our first step, getting that plate mounted on the bottom of this. We'll do our adjuster here, our belt guide up here. I haven't figured that out, but I'm just going to do one step at a time. This is basically my first step. I'll try to give you a little closer look at what I got. I hope you guys can see all this. Now, as you see how I got it set up, I want the spring inside there. So I just squiggly line down through there. That's your spring. This tube is inside of this tube here. Cable is mounted up in here. Goes through all the stock down here to a pin. And then it'll swivel up and down on this. And that will tighten and loosen your cable. Now, I may have to cut this spring down. I might not want that much spring. And then make this piece up here longer. So that could all change. Everything on this thing can change. Now, my front plate, most people are bolting these on. They bolt this plate on. I haven't seen anybody move this plate. Everybody I seen working on this machine, that plate was straight. It was square and straight. So I'm going to weld mine square and straight. If I want something that's turned or angled, I'll do it out on my workbench out here on the front. So I'm going to weld all this straight. It'll be welded straight up. I don't want anything that's actually going to come loose or be bouncing around making a bunch of noise. So that's what I got so far. And like I said, we're going to get started on the plate on the bottom. I actually got it marked out on the table here, and it's only going to come to about right there, because I want this to be over my bench a little bit. Because I think underneath of there, I'm going to want to hang some type of pan with some water on it. Make sure all them sparks, you know, are going where we want them to go. Alright, now what I've done, I went ahead and started cutting some of my the bigger stock. This is what everything's going to slide into, and this is going to be the stand itself. Now, when I come down to this piece right here, I got to thinking, we got to have this motor in here. So the height from here, the center of this motor down, I had to measure the motor. I had to measure like from the shaft down to the table, so I can have that pulley just about in the right place. And then I know that this motor has to go through this hole. So I had to measure the width of the bracket to get the distance from there out to the bracket, which was about 3.5 to 4 inches. So whatever you do when you set this back belt up here, you want to make sure that you allow for that pulley to be up and out a little bit if your motor is turning clockwise. That's the way my motor's turning, and I just want to make sure that the belt's going the right direction. That's why I was going to put all my pulleys on the other side so I can pull the belt off from that side over there. So I had to adjust just a little bit, and you got to expect that as you're going. So I'm going to go ahead and start cutting the pieces that'll go for this guide pulley on the top, and then this piece in the middle here. Alright, now we have this piece here that's cut to fit inside of here. Now, when I very first started this video, when I was telling you about the steel that I had bought and everything, I said there was a seam in there. Well, right there is that seam. It goes all the way down through. You can see the seam from my little pointer down. It goes straight down. So what I'm going to do is, now, each piece of this steel has a seam. See, this one has it right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece of metal, and that seam is right there. I'm going to mark this piece of metal right here on the outside all the way down. I'm going to mark it all the way down. I'm going to take my cutoff wheel and I'm going to cut that little groove right there out of this piece of metal. And then this piece should fit inside of there. But we're going to have to make a little groove in there so that'll fit. So that's going to be my next step. Alright, we got this thing chucked up in the vise. Now, if we look at our piece of metal, we could actually see the bump right here in that metal where it needs to be. So what I'm going to do is hold it up there, and I'm going to get a mark. I'll get me a mark here. Then I'm just going to take the piece and transfer it right over to the other side. Oops, sorry about that. I'm going to transfer it right over, straight across, and we're going to see the little bump on the inside of here, and I'm going to mark it on this side. Okay, once I got that marked, I'm just going to take a square. I'm going to lay it right down, a nice little straight edge. Doesn't have to be a square. And then we're going to mark this. Try to stay on the line. So now we got a mark going down through there. I'm going to set this up. We're going to go ahead and take a 4-inch grinder with a cutoff wheel, and we're just going to make a nice little groove right down through there. And we're going to see if this thing will slide in and out of that pipe. I've worked on this piece of metal a good bit. Now I don't want to get it too thin. So what I'm going to do now, I got a nice little groove in there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a file. And right there is where my seam is. I'm going to take a file on the inside of this. And I'm going to file that seam down a little bit. There might be some high spots in there. So we're going to knock them down a little bit. I'll go from the other side the same way. Try to get that seam knocked down good. Maybe we could just get this thing to fit in there. Like I said, I want it tight, but we want to be able to have... See, now that looks good. Very, very little play in there. And that goes all the way through. So now, if I was you guys, what I would do when you're doing yours, instead of cutting this groove as deep as I did, you can see it's right on the other seam. But it's going to be okay. Before you go grinding too much on this, file that inside there a little bit. It makes a little more sense, and we're going to have a nice tight fit. So now on this other side here, let's see if I get some light over here. Now this side there is the side that I'm going to put my spring in. So you'll have spring pressure on this. And then we'll weld a little square plate on here, and we'll put a cable in there and run it right through the spring, down through the main base, and we'll have our tensioner. And there won't be very, very little play in this, so we won't have it rattling around. Right now I'm working on the very center of the sander, the piece that's going to hold your work piece out there, and the two wheels in the front where you're going to be working. And what I'm doing is I'm working with this file, and I'm trying to file that seam that's inside there out. It's a little bit of work, but I think I'm getting it. I've just been working on that seam in there. Now, I'm sure this is taking me a little while, but it's going to be built the way I want it built. I haven't ground anything on the outside of this one yet. I'm just working, like I said, on the inside to see if I can get this thing to slide in and out without grinding anything off. There's probably some garbage in that thing. Might help it sliding in and out. Huh. A little bit tight, about right there somewhere. the same place. About the same place. Looks like it's right in there, right in the middle. My file's going to reach it. Just have to take my time and keep working at it. Okay, I finally got it, and it slides nice. So, not a lot of play. There's a wee little bit in there, not very much at all. I think that's going to be fine. And we got the top piece going. Let's get this laid over here. Okay, we got everything laid out here. Now what I have cut so far. Now I'm just basically going by the lines that I had already drawn on here, but I'm still having to adjust a little bit at a time. Now, this piece here was the one we were just working on, and it slides really good. I love how that thing slides, and I didn't have to grind any metal off of this. All I did was have to file that inside seam. This one here, where I ground that, I'm not crazy about that, but there's no really a lot of pressure on this. That's just going to be our spring for our tensioner. I don't think we're going to have any problem with that. So, that's okay, but for now on, we'll be grinding the seams out. I still need my bottom plate. It looks to be about a 12 inches by 20 to 21 inches plate I'm going to need. I don't know whether I'm just going to go have that cut. I have steel, but I really don't have a good way to cut it, and I don't feel like cutting it with a 4-inch grinder right now. So I guess it's actually a pretty good sized piece. If I have to, I will. But I'm going to go check. I got some friends that I might be able to get some steel off. I might go back to that Huntington Steel there and see what they do about cutting me up a piece. So that's the end of this part. I do believe this is part 3. Stay tuned for part 4. We're going to be putting this thing together. I'll have that bottom plate and we're going to get some welding done. I'd like to tell everybody thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave me thumbs up, thumbs down, or a comment if you'd like.